Welcome to Once Up English Channel. Today's story is The Friendly Dragon. Enjoy listening. Once upon a time, in the peaceful village of Eldermere, nestled between rolling green hills and deep forests, the people lived in fear of the great dragon who resided atop the Misty Mountain. Stories passed down through generations spoke of a fire-breathing beast with scales like emeralds and eyes like molten gold. It was said that if the villagers angered him, he would swoop down and reduce their homes to ashes. No one had actually seen the dragon in years, but the fear remained, passed from parents to children like a well-worn fable. One day, a curious and kind-hearted girl named Lila began to question these old stories. She had never seen the dragon herself, and deep down she wondered, what if he wasn't a monster at all? Determined to uncover the truth, Lila packed a small satchel with apples, bread, and a warm cloak. With the first light of dawn, she set off toward the Misty Mountain. The climb was harder than she expected. The path twisted through thick, misty forests where ancient trees whispered secrets to the wind. Sharp rocks jutted from the ground, and the air grew colder as she ascended. At one point, she nearly lost her footing on a loose stone, but she steadied herself and pressed on. As she climbed higher, she spotted footprints in the damp earth. Huge prints, each one larger than her entire body. Her heart pounded, but she swallowed her fear and continued. At last, she reached the entrance of a massive cave. The walls were lined with shimmering green crystals that pulsed faintly, casting eerie shadows across the cavern floor. A faint warmth filled the air, and deep within the cave, something stirred. A low, rumbling voice echoed through the cave. "Who dares enter my home?" Lila took a deep breath and stepped forward. "My name is Lila," she called. "I come from the village below. I wanted to see if the stories about you were true." From the shadows, two enormous golden eyes blinked open. Then a massive shape moved, scales glistening like polished gemstones. The dragon stepped into the dim light, his wings folding neatly against his back. Lila gasped, not in fear, but in awe. The dragon was magnificent. His scales shimmered like sunlight on water, and though his size was intimidating, there was no malice in his eyes. "I expected you to be afraid," the dragon said, tilting his head. Lila hesitated, then pulled an apple from her satchel. "Maybe I should be, but you don't seem like a monster." She held the apple out. The dragon blinked in surprise. Then, with surprising gentleness, he took the apple between his teeth. He chewed thoughtfully before swallowing. "You are the first human to offer me food instead of fear." "What's your name?" Lila asked. "Eldrin," he replied. Lila sat on a nearby rock, her fear melting away. "Why do the villagers think you're dangerous?" Eldrin sighed, his warm breath ruffling her hair. "Long ago, I lived among humans, helping when I could. But one day, a storm destroyed their crops. In their desperation, they blamed me. They feared my fire and believed I had cursed their land. I fled to this mountain, and ever since, I have been alone." Lila's heart ached for him. Maybe it's time they see who you really are. Together, Lila and Eldrin devised a plan. The next morning, Eldrin flew down to the village carrying great woven baskets filled with fresh fruit, herbs, and golden grains he had collected from the untouched valleys beyond the mountain. The moment his shadow fell over the village, people screamed and ran for cover. Fathers pulled their children inside, and the village leader, a stern man named Eldrick, grabbed a pitchfork. Lila ran ahead of the crowd and stood in front of Eldrin. "Stop! He's not here to hurt us," she shouted. The villagers hesitated as Lila picked a ripe peach from the dragon's basket and took a bite. "He brought us food," she said. "Not fire, not destruction." An elderly woman, her hands trembling, stepped forward and took a berry from the basket. She tasted it, her eyes widening. This is sweeter than anything we've ever grown." A young boy followed, plucking a golden ear of wheat. Soon, more villagers cautiously stepped forward, taking fruits, grains, and herbs. Eldrin remained perfectly still, letting them see his kindness for themselves. But not everyone was convinced. "You expect us to believe a dragon would help us?" Eldrick snapped. "What if this is a trick?" Lila turned to Eldrin. "Show them." Eldrin looked at the fields beyond the village. The soil was dry and cracked from the harsh summer sun. With a deep breath, he released a soft mist from his nostrils, not fire, but a cool, nourishing fog. It spread over the fields, sinking into the earth, and within moments, the soil darkened with moisture. Gasps rippled through the crowd. He's not our enemy, Lila said. He's our friend. Eldrick lowered his pitchfork. Perhaps. We have been wrong. From that day on, Eldrin became a part of the village. He used his mighty wings to carry heavy loads, his breath to warm homes in the winter, and his wisdom to guide the people. But one fateful night, a fierce storm swept through Eldermere. The wind howled like a hungry beast, and lightning struck the barn, setting it ablaze. The villagers scrambled to put out the fire, but the wind fanned the flames higher. Then, a powerful roar shook the night. Eldrin soared through the storm, his massive wings beating against the wind. With a careful breath, he released a thick, cooling mist, smothering the flames in moments. The villagers cheered. Eldrick stepped forward and bowed deeply. Eldrin, we owe you our lives. From that night on, Eldrin was no longer feared. He was loved. The villagers built a grand stone shelter for him at the edge of town so he would never have to live in solitude again. And so, Eldermere and its friendly dragon lived in harmony, proving that sometimes the greatest friendships are born from the courage to see beyond fear. And they all lived happily ever after. If you found this helpful, give us a like, share with others, and don't forget to subscribe for more useful English tips and lessons.